Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the post-game show with the coaches. My name is Coach Jay, Coach Mook, and of course, Coach Sean. We are back here again, and my goodness gracious. Listen, Coach Mook, look at Coach. We are all emotional. We are happy. We were all talking about this backstage, ladies and gentlemen. But this, finally, we were able to get the old Alabama of old. We were finally able to see the old Bama, what the actual standard was. We saw physicality, we saw quickness, speed, we saw the mentality. It was everything came together in the second half. And you can make an argument that the person who was able to ignite that was Jalen Murrow himself, who a lot of people, including myself, we know for the most part have kind of wanted him to be the backup. But Jalen Murrow showed guts, he showed heart. And I actually think that really sparked just an ignition within this team. And guys, this is again, it's 24-10. We should have blown this team out by probably like maybe 4 or 5 touchdowns. Seriously, we could have put up easily 20, 40 points on this team. But it is what it is. We'll take the dub. And this team has life. I think that's the most important part, ladies and gentlemen. This team now has life. Coach Moot, we're going to start off with you because we know you don't got that much time left. But how'd you feel about this game, Coach?
Guys, this game was by far. This was what we've been looking for. I don't care what nobody says right now. Like that second half team, we have not seen that team at no point up until the second half of this game. And if we want to talk about momentum, we want to talk about production, we want to talk about the O-line getting a push, the D-line getting pressure, all the things that we needed to happen. It just clicked after that last drive coming into the ending the first half. When the defense was able to go out and get that stop in the second, that last drive of the second quarter, man, I saw a fire, man. Even the Jam Miller hit, even though it got him thrown out, to start the half off like that with just the energy, y'all. It brought in Justin Jefferson's big hit on the special teams, almost causing a turnover on their side of the field. Jalen Murrow taking the hit and delivering the pass. Jalen Hale, the guy we highlighted and said week 1 we was expecting to see him early in the season. I thought we would see him in Texas game, but to show up in conference play, I can't remember which one of you all said it, but we highlighted the fact that Nick Saban loves to go to these freshmen who are proving they're ready in conference play in big games. And Jalen Hale got out there and got an opportunity, and he showed up. And Caden Proctor, run game, the more we leaned on it, the better he looked. Mm-hmm. The better he looked. The more we leaned on the run game, the better he looked. Every time early on when we had to drop back, he struggled. But every time he would bounce back with a great run blocking. I'm surprised Dallacourt played solid today, guys. Seth McLaughlin still struggled a little bit early, but the second half, his switch turned on. I saw a little bit more aggression. He was still getting beat. Even when we started dominating, he was still getting kind of pushed back. But, man, it was a great overall second half. That first half, we knew it was going to be rocky. We knew it was going to be tough. But for one thing for sure, Alabama fans, this team that showed up in the second half, mind you, this defense has been getting better and better every week. This team that showed up in the second half, this complete team, special teams, defense, offense, is exactly what we've been looking for. And before I go, guys, because I have to go, man, I want to tell the chat, everybody that doubted Jalen Milroe, eat your words, eat your heart out right now. Go ahead and apologize and give that man his flowers while he's here, because it's only up from here. Tommy Rees found the answer. I don't know if he was forced into finding this answer or was given this answer and said, here's the blueprint. But whatever was given to him, he digested it and he produced. I saw adjustments on both sides of the ball in the middle of quarters, not in the next quarter. First quarter, I saw adjustments. Second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, I saw adjustments each quarter by both coordinators. I saw energy on the sideline, and I saw guys flying around acting like they know how to play football. That's my take on this game. Bros, Sean, Jarek, hey, take it away, man. I love you guys, man. Hey, roll tide to the chat. Roll tide to everybody. I'm excited. Y'all run it up tonight, man. Congrats to Alabama, and shouts out to Terrion Arnold for my MVP of the game, man. Shouts out to my boy Terrion Arnold. Y'all be easy, man. Roll tide.
All right, Coach.
Coach Sean, take it away. I know you got a lot to say about this one.
Man, listen, I've been on Milroe from day one. I knew we was going to have our ups and downs with him. I knew that. Any young quarterback, man. Jalen Milroe it's only 2 quarterbacks in the entire SEC that's younger than Jalen Milroe, and both of those guys started. Jalen Milroe is one of the youngest quarterbacks in the SEC. So I knew we were going to have ups and downs. I knew the ups and downs were going to come. But did you not see how the team rallied around this guy last week when he didn't even play? So that tells you where their heart was at, man. The first half, I told myself over and over again, I'm not going to allow myself to pull what little hair I got left out. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I kept woo-sawing the first half. Woo-saw. Because I kept seeing the offensive line play absolutely terrible. I had to woo-saw, bro. I had to go outside and look at the clouds and all that stuff because I was utterly flabbergasted by the effort I seen on the offensive line. Seth was getting whipped. J.C. Latham was limping, getting whipped. Ferguson got hurt. Booker was missing. It wasn't just Caden Proctor the first half. I don't know what happened the second half, but them boys came out, and I told Kyle earlier when Kyle did an earlier show today, I said, we got to run the ball, man. We have to run the ball. If you play ball, you understand offensive linemen hate pass blocking. They don't like it.
Oh, yep.
Run blocking is what they like. They like to lean on people, man. And the more these guys ran the ball, the more continuity we had on the offensive line, the stronger they became, the harder the running backs ran the ball, the more they found the identity that Ole Miss cannot hold up against us in a physical run game. Damn the finesse. Damn the finesse. Line up, punch them in the mouth, run the ball downhill. I don't care. We got to run the ball 2 yards this play, 1 yard that play, 3 yards. Be patient, run the ball, old school Alabama football. I'm proud of Jalen Milroe. He had his ups and downs, but you saw the fight in that kid. You saw the fight in that kid. You saw the team. More importantly, you saw the team rally around that kid. So I think we're finding an identity slowly but surely, and as if Coach Smith just said in the chat, we got a long way to go, but I did see great potential tonight. And if we're going to beat them up for the last 2 or 3 weeks, you got to give their flowers tonight, man, because that team was scoring 50-something points a game coming into this game. So to play defense the way we play defense against that type of offense, you got to give those guys some love, man.
Yep, I completely agree. And shout out to my boy Jalito. Like I said, I'm not sure to mispronounce the name, but shout out to my boy Jalito. We played terrible in the first half, just like how you said, Coach. This was just one of those situations where, like I just said before, like a spark just came with this team, like something like ignited this team, and I think it was that Jalen Milroe throw in the pretty much. I think that was up the seam to Yep, pretty much threw that up the seam, and he got hit. He got lit up, but he came back, threw it up to make sure he was all right. And an ignition just came because all of a sudden we talk about how great the secondary was. The secondary played spectacular. We're going to get into the secondary in a minute, but this defensive line in the second half was ridiculous.
Dominated.
It was absolutely ridiculous. Everybody, and it wasn't just the first front man rotation. It was all 7. It was a deep rotation. Tim Keenan was even getting pass rush, and we talked about for weeks how just great of a run defender he was. But but as a pass rusher, he needs to get a lot better. Pretty much the entire interior of the pass rush has got to get better. Tim Smith was getting pressure. Keenan was getting pressure. James Smith, he was a part of that rotation a little bit. It was ridiculous how much we were getting pressure from the interior. And then our outside edge rushers. Dallas Turner, where in the hell have you been?
Exactly.
Where was this at against Texas? Because again, the South Florida game, he had 1.5 sacks, but it's not like, for the most part, that's South Florida. And plus, a lot of his sacks it was quarterback contained. It was just full on coverage sacks. He was actually beating and roughing up offensive linemen. He was destroying their tackles, whether it was a dip and under, whether it was a swing move, whether it was just a straight up bull rush. He was killing the tackles coming off the outside rush and affecting the pass rush and affecting the quarterback, letting him step up and climb up the pocket, only except that a lot of our interior defensive line was there. Him and Braswell were murderers all night long for their tackles. And Coach, you've been the first one to talk about it. If we can't generate pressure with our edge rush, it doesn't matter how good your secondary is going to be playing. Eventually, an offense is going to take a look. At the matchups, and they're going to expose it, especially if you can't get any pass rush.
Facts, all facts, man. I was ecstatic about the second half. Something happened in the second half. Those guys started playing harder. The defensive line played harder. Like you said, Jay, the outside linebackers came to play. They saw how Ole Miss was going to play against them, and they dominated their box. That's what Alabama football is. What it has always been. If a defense is going to play you in that manner, they're not going to give a running back the chip. They're not going to give any help. You have to dominate your man. And I was ecstatic for Dallas that he did that. Um, for me, the first half is almost like Tommy was pressing a little bit. Some of the design runs were very, very predictable. At times that he was calling them. It's almost like he was trying to feel his way through it. And I think the second half, man, he sort of had a feel of how the game was going to go, how Lane was going to play them, how Pete Golding, and it was so weird to watch it from the other side. Pete hadn't changed, man. Pete, shout out to Pete Golding. Hey, I don't got nothing bad to say about you, Pete, brother. We enjoyed you tonight. You understand? So that he hadn't changed, man. And Pete's a great guy. Great. I met Pete personally, man. He A-Day. Great dude, man. But he's a stubborn coach, man. He's a stubborn defensive, as most defensive coaches are. So I was ecstatic how the guys played, man. I can't say enough about how those young men played. Caleb Downs, that man, I don't
killer.
It seems every week I get more and more impressed with that young man. More and more.
Better.
He's a freshman, man. That kid was in high school this time last year. Not a red shirt freshman, but a true freshman. I get ecstatic at that kid, man. And let me say this. Can we please get Robbie Oots the ball on crossing routes more often? Can we get Robbie Oots the ball? That big rascal got some hands on it, man. He went up and got that thing, snagged that thing out the air. I was like, whoa, I didn't know Robbie could catch it like that. I remember last week he pulled one off the ground that Ty had threw. He on a crossing route, he come across and it was a little high and he went up and got that thing. Dude got to be 240, 245. So, I'm ecstatic about Robbie Oots, man. Blocked very well. Played an awesome game himself. You got to give these guys their flowers, and it starts with the defense. The defense, I wasn't worried about them from the beginning. These guys have actually played pretty well all year long as you don't put them in a bad situation. And let me give a special shout out to Coach Smook because he's been on Terrion Arnold from the beginning. Eric D said it best right there. Terrion Arnold, shut up the naysayers today. Yes, sir, he did. Yes, sir, he did. Terrion played an awesome game. He's physical. He talked that talk. He got the swag of a cornerback. Terrion is slowly becoming one of my favorite players, man, because that kid is awesome. That kid is awesome. And I really believe if Terrion has a season that I think he could have, Terrion may be leaving us. You know what I mean? Because he has the size, he has the skill set. Terrion had a great game today, and I see that kid getting better and better.
Is it an argument to say that Terrion Arnold is the best run defending corner, especially when it comes to edge containment right now in college football?
I think so. Terrion to come up and put that thing on you, man. He definitely plays both sides of it. He's just not a pass defender. Terrion is very aggressive. I tell you this, he's to me our most physical corner.
Yeah. And there's a lot of physicality. There's a lot of physicality with these corners. I mean, Malachi Moore, what he has done, especially in run support, is insane. But Caleb Downs has done the exact same. Kool-Aid McKinstry might be the weakest one, and he's been pretty solid, but he might just be the weakest. Our safeties have been killer when it comes to run support.
Jalen Key.
Oh my God, Jalen Key is another one. Was terrific today. Ole Miss last year had one of the best rushing attacks in college football. They were top 5 nationally in the country when it comes to rushing. And we talked about that before, how they love to kind of split you out, have those receivers kind of outside those hashes a little bit, kind of what Tennessee does a little bit when it comes to similarity. And they love to run inside. They love to run a lot of motion screens. They love to run a lot of end arounds. They basically want to try to give you off a position just in case. And if they want to run the football down your throat, there's not a lot of that personnel that can be there. Ole Miss nationally since 2020 has been one of the best rushing attacks in college football, and Alabama destroyed them. I mean, for the most part, their interior has held up against Ole Miss, and they don't have the same personnel as Texas, but still, this is Lane Kiffin we're talking about. This is still SEC play. They still have a very physical offensive line that and for the most part, throughout the entirety of that game, they did a great job of mitigating the rush. if Ole Miss was going to have any sort of success, unless it was going to be a bust, whether it was going to be a bust of coverage or one of our players were just not going to be in position, for the most part, we're just going to keep it underneath, and we're going to allow you to get 2-3 yard chunks, not those 5-6 yard or 7 yard chunks by Jenkins and Watkins like they used to. That's no longer the case. So no, I mean, a big reason why, like we just said, it's because of these corners and safeties. They have been arguably the best run defenders on the squad, and that includes our defensive line. That includes our outside linebackers and inside linebackers. And Deontay Lawson has been pretty solid against the run. As a matter of fact, all of our inside linebackers have been pretty solid against the run. But the best, no question about it, our secondary has been stellar.
Yes. Shout out to Buck. Buck said Kool-Aid McKinstry play like an All-American today. Yes, Kool-Aid always plays like an All-American. We weren't obviously dissing Kool-Aid. We're saying the other side of Kool-Aid has always been a liability. Teams would pick on the other corner, whoever it may be, opposite Kool-Aid. Well, now that Terrion has emerged and is playing with confidence, now you're seeing teams throw at Kool-Aid a little bit. Stand away from Terrion sometimes. They tried Kool-Aid a couple of times. Terrion is playing well, and the film says it. So no. We're not taking anything away from Kool-Aid. He's awesome and will be awesome. But it's ecstatic and it's gratifying to see another corner, playing on the outside that's playing well, just as well as Kool-Aid is.
Yep, I completely agree with you, man. And it's a wonder to see, because last year we want to talk about the development of Terrion Arnold. Terrion Arnold was always a physical corner, but he was recruited as a safety. We thought he was going to be playing maybe as a strong side type safety when he came here. Instead, made the transition to corner, had to fight his way because everyone thought that Eli Ricks was going to be playing opposite of Kool-Aid. He came in, took the job, had his rough patches, right? Even was benched for Eli a couple times, especially in that Texas A&M and Mississippi State game. But Arnold has come through. He's been way more consistent, and he's kind of been the shutdown corner of this team, man. It's a wonder to see what he's done, man.
It is, man. Coach, let me ask you something. What do you think about Jalen Hale and the young receiver coming in and making a catch like that?
It was exciting to see, because Jalen Hale is a 5-star, man. He's a 5-star receiver coming out, I think, Adeo, Texas, I believe. And he's always had potential. He's always had that ability. But I think one of the biggest issues was that I think it was a rough time for him fitting in the offense last year. And then even this year, we started to incorporate him a little bit more in the offense, but maybe we just didn't really have the quarterback play that can get him the ball. Maybe the offense just wasn't fitting his play style, but there were times where he was open, even during the limited snaps that he's had. And this is a tough rotation, right? One of the most blasphemous things that I've heard, me and Coach Sean talked about this backstage, was that they talked about how there was not one receiver on this roster that is even considered to be a top 100 prospect. Not one, which is like 3 or 4 rounds, which is insane. So, but this roster is extremely talented. It is full of 5 and 4 stars for a reason. And it is tough to get reps, especially these. And me and Coach and Spook, we've all talked about this. These receivers have gotten way better compared to what they were last year. And maybe that's just because of the comfort of what this offense is setting up these receivers compared to Bill O'Brien. So it's good to see a person like Jalen Hill get out there and get out there and make plays, because that's one thing that we've been missing is big plays. And Jalen Merrill might not be the best quarterback when it comes to placement, but overall wise, these receivers helping out their quarterback and just the overall reaction when they're catching those balls, the excitement also kind of fueled the team a little bit. So Jalen Hill is taking advantage of opportunities. It's something that I'm definitely proud of, because now all of a sudden it's no longer the ultimate 3 or 4. We can now rotate 5 or 6 guys that have the ability to get on the field and make plays, including our tight ends. So it was exciting to see what Jalen Hill was able to do.
I see Chad Anderson says Milroe is awful. We made him look good. Let me say this, Chad. Milroe has a long way to go to be an effective, accurate passer week to week, but I cannot call him awful. If you can't see the improvement in not only communication, but his overall play from Texas game to from MTSU to Texas to now, then I don't know what you're looking at, brother. This guy's getting better. He still has his ups and downs. I think what's helping him is Tommy Rees, the second half, used him the way I think he should be used. You know what I'm saying? So I can't call him awful, man. If you think there's another quarterback on the roster that could have won this game for us today, I gotta respectfully disagree with you. With all due respect to Buckner and Ty, who will be the future of Alabama football for a couple of years. But Jalen Milroe is young. I can't call him awful after today. You know, I just can't do that. We all know he has his struggles. We understand that. But to go in and score when we need to at you know at the most inopportune times and the way we did it, to take that shot, to hang in there and get that ball, you know, that's that takes skill. It takes skill, it takes concentration, it takes a team around you who has love for their quarterback. So no, I can't call that young brother, I can't call him awful after the performance he put up tonight.
Coach, let me get in here real quick and just talk to him. Jalen Milroe completed 80% of his passes tonight.
Thank you. Thank
He
you.
completed 80% of his passes tonight. Would you rather go with Ty Buckner, who threw less than 30, I think less than 40% of his throws?
Facts.
Would you rather go with the Ty Simpson quarterback, who even though we all know has promise, does not have the offense to a T, who still kind of panics a little bit more in the pocket, who still can't really make a lot of those reads that Jalen Milroe can make? Like, what are we doing here? Like, yes, is Jalen Milroe the best quarterback of all time? No, he's not the best Alabama quarterback of all time. He's not Bryce. He's not Mac Jones. He's not Jalen. He's not even Jalen Hurts, not yet. But we all knew this coming in. We all knew that Jalen Milroe was going to make mistakes. We tried it. You know, we tried to see if there was a quarterback in this roster that could be better than what Jalen Milroe was able to do. And no, nobody proved it against South Florida. If Jalen Milroe was in that game, we probably would have won that game we probably would have put up maybe at least 20 points. At least 20 points on that team. And that would have been before the fourth quarter. So what are we doing here? Like, anyone at this point that's doubting Jalen Milroe that he is not the guy, I'm sorry, but at this point, I'm sorry. Like, you're not watching ball. You don't know ball, because at this point, Jalen Milroe, if it's not clear and obvious after tonight's performance, especially in the second half, how he single-handedly ignited this team to play better, I don't know what to say. I don't know how we can convince you guys that are not believing in Jalen Milroe that he's not clearly the best quarterback on this team. 80% of his passes he completed tonight.
All facts, Coach. All facts. Shout out to our bro, Coach Smoot. Coach Smoot, what up with your brother? The Milroe doubters, man. Yeah, I understand some of the people. I get it. After having Bryce and Jalen and Mac and all these great quarterbacks, Milroe is young, guys. He is extremely young
and raw. But we knew this.
Yeah, exactly, Coach Jay. And here's the thing, guys. This was SEC play. This is the SEC West. This game counted. Wipe the slate clean of those first 2-3 games. This is what counts, brother. This is what's going to help us get to where we want to go, winning these games against the SEC. So for Jalen to come out and play the way he played, if we're going to kick his back end for those Texas turnovers, you got to give the man love on the other end. But I'm looking at the young man's comments. He's just probably a troller, and it's okay. We love trolls too. Just hit the like button. You know what I'm saying? So
hit the like and subscribe.
Yeah, man. So it's okay. You got to give his love. If you a real fan and you're going to kick Jalen's back end for the turnovers against Texas, for whatever other plays he didn't make, you got to give that young quarterback love for what he put on display tonight against a team that was averaging 50-something points a game and our first SEC opponent. You got to be fair and give him his love tonight.
Yep. We have a super chat from Mr. Yielder1. Coach, I'm going to let you take that away.
We have a super chat, Mr. Yelder1.
Mr. Yelder1.
He says $2 super chat. He says Jalen actually went through progressions today. He did. I've seen several times where he was holding the ball too long, trying to go. They gave him a little time, and Jalen was kind of holding that thing a little long, trying to go boom, boom, boom through the progressions and coming back. So that's what you like to see, guys. That's a progression in itself, playing quarterback. You grow from game to game. You grow from game to game. You watch film. You see the things you did wrong. You come back the next game and you try not to do those things again. That's how you play quarterback in college football. That's how you get better, guys. So yeah, he did try to go through progressions, and I was proud to see that.
Yep. And again, like you just said, you can make an argument. He waited a little bit too long to go through to start going through his progressions a little bit. And like I said, he still needs to do a little bit better job kind of reading the field, because there were receivers that were open. I think audibly the noticeable one was that high-low concept where Jermaine Vernon was wide open underneath, and he went on top over the top.
Just
go underneath, and that could have been a touchdown. But I mean, besides that, I mean, I've seen Jalen Monroe make some accurate reads and make some accurate throws tonight. Again, 80% of his passes that he was able to complete, he took a lot what the defense honestly gave to them, and he honestly made a lot more careless mistakes. And we're not even just talking about the second half. The first half alone, he made a lot of careless mistakes that he honestly would have made against if we would have went back to week 2 against Texas. So the progression is there. It's there. It might not be as fast as what Bama fans want. We're so spoiled that we think that everyone's going to turn into Mac Jones, because Mac Jones, for what he did in that 2019 season where he just went off, and the Auburn game, he threw 2 pick sixes, but he also had 4 touchdowns and completed over 66% of his throws, and he made some unbelievable throws and unbelievable reads that only advanced quarterbacks can make at that time. And then the Michigan game was like a flip of the switch. He just put it all together and he became that guy. Everyone thinks that all of a sudden now people are going to end up like Mac Jones. Mac Jones had Steve Sarkisian. Mac Jones had arguably the best line in 2019 that we had. I know people
and Devontae Smith.
Exactly. Smith, Waddle,
that always helps.
Judy. You had all those receivers. Yeah. You had the best offense right next to LSU in college football in history, or in at least the last 10 years, arguably. Jalen Monroe doesn't have that to his disposal. He has Tommy Rees, a young offensive coordinator that's still trying to prove. He's 30 years of age. He's not Joe Brady as a passing coordinator. He's still trying to work out the kinks. So, yeah, I'm proud of Jalen Monroe. He did an unbelievable job tonight. And like I said before, guys, for those who just don't believe in him and think that we should go with Ty Simpson and Ty Buckner, go back and watch the South Florida game.
Exactly.
Go back and watch the South Florida game.
Exactly. I want to say Coach Mook said play calling helped him tonight. Coach Mook is 100% correct. Tommy really got his bowl of Wheaties together, especially the second half. He found his way through it. And football is a fill-out game, guys. We all know football is a fill-out game for the players, for the coaches. You got to find your way. It's a chess game, man. You have to do things and you'll come back to certain plays later. You'll set up certain plays. It's a chess move. It's a chess game, guys. So you have to find your way, right? And I think Tommy Rees is getting better. Second half showed it. Really from the last 2 drives of the USF game until now. I know the first half we had our miscues against Pete Golding, but the second half play calling, I was satisfied with that. I was satisfied with the run-pass ratio. I was satisfied with the plays he was calling. I was also satisfied with how he used Milroe in the second half. And I think Jalen is getting more and more confidence. He's not afraid. I think the first half he was nervous. He was hesitant to let that thing go. You know what I mean? And I think the offensive play calling was sort of conservative as well, So the second half, to have Milroe throw that thing downfield the way he did, even on times when we didn't complete the pass, to show the secondary that we will throw it deep. Those safeties couldn't cheat up like they really wanted to in the first half. And I think that helped us on some of the deep routes.
Coach, talk to me about the offensive line in the first half, because this offensive, I mean, they a flip. It's like a switch was flipped in the second half. But the first half, we had our struggles. And again, I know a lot of people will blame Milroe and will blame Milroe for the first half.
Of course.
But he got sacked a lot. I think he got sacked more than 4 times in the first half alone. Alabama's given up more than 5 sacks in 3 out of the last 4 games. Talk to me about the offensive line and just, like what was the biggest issue with them kind of going forward, and how were they able to kind of make those adjustments in the second half?
Man, I don't know, man. It was so uncharacteristic. I can take you getting beat on twists and things of that nature where they bring pressure late, they loop around pressure. I can take a young offensive lineman getting beat on those things, right? But for an offensive lineman to line up man on man on a man, and he just straight up whip you, knock you off the ball, knock you down. I'm just so not used to seeing that from an Alabama offensive line. The first half, I seen Seth getting knocked on the ground. I seen Booker missing blocks. I seen Latham limping. I don't know what the hell was going on in the first half, man. But that offensive, it was a point in time where I texted up my fellow coaches and I told them, right now, with what I'm seeing, I think this may possibly be pass blocking the worst offensive line since Saban's 3rd year. I mean, because it was no continuity. It was nothing working. It was utterly terrible to watch, man. I couldn't believe it. Ephraim Davis says the player wasn't executing. It was nerves. Maybe it was nerves, Ephraim. I don't know. But if we're talking about offensive line play, Seth started last year. JC started last year. Booker started last year. Darian Darcourt started last year until he got hurt. So we're not talking about true freshmen like Caden. We're talking about guys who have 15, 20 games under their belt. So, nerves the first couple of series, okay, but the entire first half, nah, that was just bad play, man. They went in second half. I don't know what happened. Like Coach Jay said, some switch got pushed or turned on, and those guys came out. We ran the ball. See, running the ball always gives confidence, man. You can lean and dominate your man in the trench. That gives you confidence, and then other plays start working. Other things start opening up. So I don't know what the deal was, Coach Jay, to answer the question. The first half, I don't know if it was just the play calling. These guys were just out of placement. It's almost like none of them practiced that week, the first half. I don't know what it was to answer the question, but I'm just glad we got it fixed the second half.
Yep. And Travis Wright sent a $9.99 super chat. Appreciate you so much for the support.
Thanks, Travis.
Are you, and I guess I'll ask this question too, and this is not just for Coach, this is for the rest of the chat. Are we bought into this offensive line now? Do we finally think that this offensive line just, again, we all know they got in the second half, but moving forward through SEC play, can they keep that up now? Can they, because I'm telling you, going back in the film room, I'm telling you right now, and we'll talk about Eric Wolford in a minute, but they're going to take a look at that film and they're going to slap themselves. They're going to be extremely angry. Nick Saban is going to be pissed off, not just because not because, obviously this offensive line played bad, but because how they played well in the second half. Nick Saban is going to be asking, where was this for all 3 games, our first 3 to 4 games? Where was this at? All of the effort was there, the push was there, the dominance, the physicality of the quote unquote 330-pound average was there. Like, you saw it. We wore them down. We made them tired. So I think the rest for you, Coach, and for the rest of the chat, are we finally kind of bought into this offensive line?
For me, I still have my doubts as far as pass protection. I honestly am high on this offensive line as far as running the ball, run game. I think the run game, they can be a little more lazy and lean on college football. College football is still not pro football. If you can run the ball in college football, you'll have an opportunity to win every game if you can run the ball successfully.
Yep.
It's not the pros, and the thing about it is, I think for me, the jury's still sort of out in pass protection on teams like Texas A&M, teams that'll put speed on the edges, who have the athletes to give us fits on the edges. Mm-hmm. Ole Miss has a great team, and a few times they did give us fits on the edges with Perkins. I've seen young man we recruited, Suntarine Perkins, I think his name is. Mm-hmm. Young man gave us fits on the edge, blitzed him through the middle a lot of times too. They moved him around and brought pressure with him at different places. So I think the pass pro is still sort of iffy, but at this point, the way they played in the run game and the physicality at the line of scrimmage, I'll take it. No hate from me tonight, guys. If one of you guys are watching, you get all love from me to lean on those guys and to move Ole Miss's defensive line, something that I did not see against USF. We couldn't move those guys off the LOS, the line of scrimmage. We moved Ole Miss off the line of scrimmage. So I won't give no hate to those guys, but I do think we still got a little ways to go in pass protection.
Yeah, this is actually a funny comment by Keena. She said she was holding her breath as soon as Merrill got hit. Listen, I was doing the exact same thing because I'm thinking to myself, oh, we're about to go right back to Buckner. I was so nervous, but I think it ignited the team, and I think for somehow in some reason it ignited a spark. This offensive line just all of a sudden just became for a quick moment, a quick glimpse. It looked like 2020 and 2019's Bama's offensive line. Just a quick glimpse. Coach, I'm with you. I still think the jury's out. I still, against pass pro, against better teams, A&M with Walter Nolan and Shamar Stewart and McKinley Jackson and those guys, those are 5 stars. All of them are 5 stars. LSU with Mason Smith and Mekhi Wingo, it's nothing but speed and strength and size. So it's a lot more teams like Texas's defensive, like offensive line wise. I don't think that there's a better offensive line than Texas than we played. Defensive line though, as far as just their front 4 goes in rotation, there's teams that can match up with Texas at least there. So I think the jury's still out. But if anything, I think the one thing I think we can take away from is confidence. Is that I think there's now film of positivity, at least with this offensive line. I think they can all look back and saying, if we can do this against SEC competition the second half, imagine what we can do for the rest, what we can do for the entirety of a game. So maybe it was just maybe a lack of confidence. And because I don't know, the first half I started to see Milroe. A lot of people blame Milroe for missing open reads. I kind of saw it as he was releasing the ball a little bit too quickly in the first half, because I just think that he didn't have any confidence in the line for a little bit. Like there was to a point where he was projecting if the pressure was going to get to him.
Yeah.
And he was
his
releasing
eyes
that ball
definitely came. His eyes definitely dropped to the line of scrimmage instead of looking downfield. All facts.
Yep.
Coach, let me ask you a question. This is one for the chat as well as Coach Jay. Is there anything you guys saw tonight that bothered you a lot outside of, the normal things we talk about, quarterback play, honestly, the center, but did you guys see anything that worries you for next week?
Honestly, I would just say offensive line play.
Yeah.
Like the offensive line play was and penalties, which is something we're going to get into.
Yes, that was mine.
Penalties, yeah, we had a lot of we again another touchdown that we could have had blocked because of a penalty. Story of our lives, but it's really just the offensive line play as a whole. I think that's the biggest concern moving forward. And I think that Mississippi State does not have a great offensive line. It's actually kind of similar to Ole Miss, maybe a little bit lower if we're just talking about just the overall strength of their defensive line. It's again looking more forward towards A&M, looking more forward, towards LSU, and eventually, if we can get to the SEC championship game, it's Georgia potentially, or maybe I'm guessing it's Georgia's going to win the East. Those are the type of teams that we got to do a much better job against. Again, today showed the potential, but overall wise, they got to get cleaned up in pass pro, and we got to find a way to do better against quicker edge rushers. Got to find a way to how to deal with that, especially if they're stunning in the inside, because we are failing to kind of make those pickups when they're stunning in the inside with those quick guys.
David Kendall says the offensive line play was still terrible. Keith Cannell says offensive line was shoddy, still can't cover receivers half the time. Ephraim Davis says the third and long defense. And Eric D says our center play. So all those are valid points. Awful. Yeah, all those are valid points, man. Chad Anderson says wrapping up. Very, very true. Buck says penalties. I'm assuming that's penalties, facts. Red zone off. Yeah, all those are valid points, man.
Yes,
all of those are valid points. But the one thing I'll say, if I could fight you guys for a minute on one penny, is did you not see some improvement tonight from our past games? Right? Does it not look up as far as running the ball? We couldn't even run the ball basically the first 3 quarters of the South Florida game.
Back.
I mean, think about that. I think Roydell may have had 40 yards up until 7 minutes into the third quarter. So there's several things we can improve on. Several. We all know that. We could list them right now. But I'm going to give them some love, man. The football team has been taking a beating for the last couple of weeks, and rightfully so. Respectfully, rightfully so. But tonight, to see them lean on Ole Miss like that, and again, guys, Ole Miss, that Tulane team that Ole Miss beat barely, that's Tulane team is a very good team. Mm-hmm. Trust me. That Tulane team is a very good team, man. They were good last year. So to hold Ole Miss to the points we held those guys to come in and time of possession, to run the ball the way we did, to come in and to scrap and fight and not fall apart under the boos of the crowd. And, I got to give them love, man. I get love where love is due, and I'm going to give truth and honest criticism where it's due. So we have a lot of things to work on, man. But to see the play and the way those guys fought tonight, that'll help us later on in the year. Trust me.
Yep. And we have a super chat from Hookin and Bookin Bros.
Seth needs to be moved off center. His snaps are getting worse. I think the offensive line needs to lose some weight. They look slow. Yep. Hooking and Booking Bros, $4.99. We appreciate you, Hooking. You make a lot of great points, man. A lot of great points. But the only thing with that is, at this point in the season, to change a center without an injury, I guess
who's our backup option?
Yeah, you got a backup center. I mean, who's the backup center? I think it's Tommy Brockemeier's younger brother.
Not ready.
He hadn't played at all. So are
Yeah.
you willing to put him at center, which is the quarterback of the offensive line, makes the protection calls, everything? Are you willing to put him at center? Darian Dogcourt played center. He got hurt. Are you willing to put him at center? T. Ferg came in and played. I can't say I've seen a big difference in T. Ferg. He didn't play super much better than anybody, or he didn't play any worse than anybody. He gave up a couple plays. I mean, I honestly think with the starting five that you have, guys, is the starting five they need to go with. They just need more reps. They need more reps. They just got to get better. I mean, Pritchard, everybody was talking about Caden. Well, they put Pritchard in. Guess what? Pritchard struggled as well. So what do you do? I mean, for me, if I was coaching this team, I think what's his name? Eric Wilford. Wilford. That's our O-line coach name.
Eric Wilford from Kentucky. We're gonna talk about him.
I think Eric Wilford needs to step his game up and start really
Yep.
getting these kids. You know what? I think he needs to be a little tougher on these kids. I would still stick with the starting five they have now. I just would coach them hard. I would really coach these guys up in the film room. I would point out and criticize them in front of everybody, which is what they, which is what makes you really not want to make mistakes again. I just would coach them hard, man. Coach them really, really hard. I would have some seventh and eighth linemen to come in who could play, some versatile guys who could play guard, center. At this stage of the football season, what this our fifth game going into next week, fifth, sixth game, whatever it is, you really got to go with the five you have. I mean, could you make replacements at this point? Could you make substitutions at this point? Yeah, but the guys that you're bringing in, they don't have as much experience as the guys we're criticizing right now. So we look what happened at quarterback. Everybody wanted to see another quarterback. We want to see another. Look what happened. He was worse than the guy that was playing. So for me, I would leave this starting five. I just would coach them harder. I would really, really, really get in the film room with these guys deeper. And hopefully, like every other offensive line that's talented, they would get better, not worse.
Shout out to David Kendall with the $5 super chat. He said Reese better get it together or Sand might decommit. Maybe. I mean, maybe he does. Maybe, maybe he won't. Listen, I think Sand's bought in. I think regardless of what happens, I do think Reese needs to get better though. I do think that. I think we got to get a little more consistent. Again, I like what happened. I like the second half adjustments. Really like the second half adjustments. Jalen Murrow looked way more comfortable. I feel like the offense finally was able to hit his playing style. We were able to throw the ball deep. We were able to take a lot of shots underneath. We were able to run I like the run design concepts that happened a lot more in the second half compared to the first. But yeah, I agree with that. He does need to get better.
Yeah, I think so too. Chad Anderson says he wish we wrap up better. Yeah, I think that's the defense as a whole. You can always tackle better. You can get to the last game of the season. That's something that a coach is never satisfied with. But I'll tell you what, Caleb Downs to me is a surefire tackler. This guy rarely misses tackles to be so young. He tackles well in space. But if wrapping up is our only complaint on the defense, I think I can take that. I can live with that.
Shout out to the unofficial assistant coaches. You haven't checked these guys out. These guys are the real deal, man. Shout out to the unofficial assistant coaches. We got to talk about Eric Walford real quick, guys, because this is a coach that was brought in from Kentucky. This is a Joe Moore. I believe he actually won the award with Kentucky, or at least was a finalist. But he had a lot of job offers, not just from college, but from the pro leagues, from the National Football League. You're talking about a guy that got Kentucky, got a couple draft picks from there that went, I believe, in the third or inside of day 3. Yeah. This is a guy that was supposed to make this line a lot better, bring that culture, bring that standard back. Because at Kentucky, it's a power run game, strictly power run game, especially with Will Levis back there, strictly just nothing but just power. And they did a phenomenal job. But here at Alabama, the last couple seasons, it has not really worked. And we try to get the size, we try to get 330. That's maybe that's on David Ballou. Maybe that's even on Nick Saban, because Nick Saban is the head man. He's the one that hired Ballou. He's the one that hired Eric Walford. Walford, I still think that the jury is out on him. I still think that the jury is out on him, because this offensive line, again, like you just said, it's, at least according to those first 3 games, it's been one of the worst lines I think I have seen since 2007. And even in 2007, we weren't that bad. Offensively, we were still pretty decent. We still were able to get, even though we lost 6 games that year, we were in dog fights with top-ranked competition. We were in dog fights. This year, though, with this offensive line, it's just besides the second half, I have not seen any instances of, and I'm not counting Middle Tennessee. I have not seen any sort of instances of dominance. So I think again the jury's still on him, and I wonder if we can just pick that up because again we talked about this before. We're going against stronger competition, at least defensively. Ole Miss offensively, Bama passed the test on as far as what we can stop, as far as those play design, those crazy play designs, the amount of motion and all that type of, and all those concepts that Lane Kiffin loves to run. We completely shut that down. Now, though, I still think the jury's still out, and we still got to be tested by going against better fronts because physically we out muscled Ole Miss in the second half. But that first half, you can make an argument they out muscled us.
I tell you this, man. It's so many things, man. It's so many things that I could attribute it to, and that's a whole nother show, for me to get into. Yeah. When I was at JCHS coaching with those guys, Coach Wardrop, shout out to you. Let me say it like this. All 5 stars are not created equal. I know the average fan won't understand what I'm talking about, but let's just say you have one 5-star who played at said school, private school, you paid to go to school, young man hadn't faced a lot of adversity in his life, smart kid, well-rounded young man, come from a great family, great 5-star, great kid, talented, right? You have another 5-star over here to come from very humble beginnings. Kid never really had a lot, had to fight and scratch for everything he had, come from a different type background, face a lot of adversity in his life. So you take both of these 5 stars, both of them are talented. Both of them are going to Division I schools. One young man has had a lot of things handed to him. The other young man has really had to fight for everything. You put them both at Alabama, or at least one of them at Alabama, and say put another one at, we'll just say Georgia, since they're the champs. One 5-star will hit a brick wall, and when he's challenged, he don't know how to respond to that. Not his first year anyway. It takes him a couple years to understand, to get out of that shell of the poor me's. The other 5-star used to adversity. He's used to it. He's not worried about a coach hollering at him. That ain't gonna piss him off, right? He's a dog. He want to get on the field to show you was wrong. And this is the truth. I've seen it. I've coached it. I've seen it. I went to a VTO camp in Atlanta last year, and I ain't gonna call the 2 young men's names because both of them are playing college football now. One of them is on our roster. One of them is on, I think, Clemson's roster right now. Both young men were 5 stars. Both young men played the same position. One young man was mad that he didn't have some armbands or something. He was mad, upset that his armbands didn't match, and he was mad and didn't want to play and was pouting. And the other kid didn't give a what about that. The other kid was there to prove something. He mad that this dude is rated higher than him, right? The other kid, they play 1 7-on-7 game, and then they'll sit down. The other kid was volunteering to be on the other team who didn't have enough people. He want to play again. So it's a difference, guys, in these 5-star linemen, 5-star players. It's a difference in these kids. Don't get wrapped up too much in these stars, because sometimes the hungrier kid, the kid that got something to prove, the kid that feels like he's been slighted, those are the kids that work harder. Those are the kids that's going to come in here. They don't give a damn about NIL. Whatever you give me, I'm thankful for it. But I'm pissed that you got this guy rated above me. I want to get on the field. That's Caleb Downs. You see what I'm saying? These kids don't say nothing. They just want to come in and ball out, right? And these are the kids that end up being better. So my question is, the 5-star linemen that we have, are these kids the entitled 5-star kids? Are these or are they the 5-star kids who hungry and want to prove something? Because I know 5-star kids who was in both of their classes. And I've seen some of them at Georgia. I think one of them's at Florida State. These kids are ballers. They're ballers. Yeah, these kids we have were rated higher, but does that mean they're better? Right? Does that mean they're more ready to play per se? So sometimes I think it comes down to your attitude, man. I really do. Do you want this? Just like Coach Saban say, how bad do you want this? Everybody talk about being great. Everybody talks about being great, but are you willing to do what it costs to be great? Are you willing to pay the price? I seen a post where Devontae Smith said, I stayed over practice every day and caught 100 balls. If you're not willing to do that, get out of my face with this. You want to be great stuff. So, you know, you made it to Division I football. You're obviously a great player, right? But do you want to be great in college football? Do you want to be a first rounder? Who willing to pay the price and bleed and sweat and put the time in? The kid, it's just like, let me steal Kirby Smart's slogan. Do you want to eat off the floor, right? Those kids, those are the ones who end up making it and make the team better. The question is, which do we have?
Yep, and when we talk about high school recruits with all the 5 stars going on, there's a reason why people are now going to modern day to try to get the 5 stars compared to, let's say, going to, you know, maybe a different state outside of Cali. There's a reason why it's St. John Bosco now, or people are going to Bishop Gorman or
All
American
facts.
Heritage in Florida. There's a reason why they're going to those schools because of the coaching staff that's there. It's not particularly for the player. They're looking at who is his coach, who's coaching him, because the mentality is what we care about. Not just the talent, but the mentality is what we care about. A lot of people question, why isn't Caden Proctor up to the level that Kelvin Banks was when he was a freshman playing at Texas? Well, it's because
All
simple.
facts.
Kelvin Banks was in the lab 24/7. He was in that lab 24/7. And by the time he got to campus, they said he was ready to start from day one of practice. Day one. Proctor had to work his way in. And again, I'm not going to question the work ethic of Caden Proctor because obviously it's a start as a true freshman. You had to work your tail off to get there.
Facts.
But there are just players that are different. They talked about it with Caleb Downs during the press, that every 40 years, there's just that one player. It's that one player, man, that's just different from everybody else. There's Kelvin Banks, the Caleb Downs. I'll even go back further. Ronnie Harrison and Minka Fitzpatrick back in 2015 when those were true freshmen that got on the football field. Freshmen are built different, man, depending on what coach depending on who you play for, depending on who's your coach, who can instill that mentality in you, right? And some of it is just God-given. Like that Kobe Bryant, Mamba mentality, Michael Jordan type, that's just God-given ability. That can be God-given at times. You're born with that mentality. You're born to always win and to always work hard. Some, it just takes a certain individual to instill that toughness in you. So yeah, I agree with you. Like this offensive line, maybe, who knows, maybe this is the switch that, you know, this is the ignition that maybe they need. Maybe it's Jalen Murrow showing them and being a leader on the, you know, on and off the field that can get this offensive line to be like, to potentially be one of those dogs. That's what we need. We need dogs. Know, no point intended. We need the dogs in order for us to potentially contend for a national title.
That's a whole fact. That's a whole fact, man. We need guys that want to come in. Eric D says Proctor played in Iowa. Yeah, he did. You know, I'm not. Caden played in a league to where he was the biggest, strongest kid. Barely had any competition in that league. You know, Banks played in Texas with talent on top of talent on top of more talent. So you got to be careful with these rankings and these stars and all of that, man. You know, coachability. It's like Coach Jay said, coachability is everything. Is a kid going to come to Bama and be starstruck and be like, wait a minute, these coaches are screaming at me. I'm not used to that. You know, you have it all. You have it all, man. So it's a lot more in it than just the stars. But as far as our offensive line go, I agree with Coach Jay. I think, you know, tonight is a step in the right direction. We have to just take it as that. We you know, we can't put too much on it or take too much from it. I think tonight was a step in the right direction. If you watch those first 2-3 games, you know, where we couldn't move, especially the USF game is the one that stick out to me, you know, not being able to move those guys. And I know I've repeated that, but that was just shocking to me more than anything else, man. And as disgusted as I was in the first half, after these guys couldn't do anything, and that wasn't the quarterback, brother, that was the offensive line, right? Let's be honest. As disgusted as I was for those guys to come back and play as physical as they did, if nothing else you want to take from it, the physicality that they played with along the line of scrimmage to dominate Ole Miss's front in the run game, you got to give them some love for that. You got to give them credit for that. I think by the time we get to Texas A&M, we'll have another game in between. What we got, Mississippi State in between Texas A&M, Mississippi State, then Texas A&M. So for us to have another game in between to go on the road with the Cowbells and see if we can be physical in the pass protection. Um, for me, that's important, guys. That's important. You got to give love where love is due. Sure, we got things to improve on, but for those guys to come out and play as physical as they did in the run game, I still give them love and respect for that.
Coach, give me some of your top impact players, at least for tonight's game. I know there was a lot of them, but who are some of the players that just stood out to you the most following the Ole Miss game?
Well, for me, if I had to on the offense, I'm going with Jalen Milroe. On the offense, I'm going with Jalen Milroe, man. That kid been through a lot. I was
Mhm.
upset with him, not him personally. Obviously, I was upset with his play. Let me rephrase that. I was upset with his play. I was upset with how Tommy Reese used him. So for that kid to come out and have an optimistic game, still had his struggles, right? But for that kid to come out and have an optimistic game the way he did, I give his flowers. He was one of my impact players on offense, and on defense. You could pick the whole defense, man. You could pick anybody on the defensive front. You could pick any of the
Mhm.
middle linebackers. Even after Lawson got hurt, Campbell came in and played his ass off. Man, you could just pick anybody. But for me, if I had to pick one person, if you're forcing me to pick one person, I got to go with Terrion Arnold.
Yep.
Terrion played a great game, man. He had that key in his hip pocket the whole time. He's a dog. He had good technique, good hand placement. He played the ball well. I get so disgusted with our cornerbacks not looking for the ball. They be great in coverage, but to not look for the ball, man. So for Terrion to come in and turn his head and look for the ball, for me, that's mine. That's my impact player on defense.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say Dallas Turner only because, and again, was he the best player for tonight? You can make an argument he was in the second half, but that Dallas Turner, man, made plays. Dallas Turner made a lot of plays in the second half. You started to see that version of Turner that we witnessed back in
Mhm.
2021, where he had 8.5 sacks, and I believe in 6 or 7 games in our toughest stretch of the schedule.
Yep.
That's the player that we saw today. You saw the flexing, you saw the confidence, right? You saw that alpha-like mentality tonight. That's the Turner that everyone expected to see. So I love what he was able to contribute the entire game. Chris Braswell was also another monster. I know he's not going to
Yep.
get the love because he doesn't have any sacks, but Chris Braswell was a monster all game long. He was probably the best pass rusher tonight. You got to give a lot of credit to Tim Keenan. When
Tim
again, he didn't
Keenan.
have that,
Facts.
when he didn't have a lot of reps, but when he was in there, he made impactful plays. Whether it was in the run game, we all know he can do that in the pass rushing game as well. Caleb Downs, Malachi Moore, Terrion Arnold was shut
Yes.
down. Pretty much everybody you can make an argument in the secondary, including Jalen Key. I was just completely proud of the defense. I was completely proud of these
Completely.
guys. I got to give Kevin Steele a lot of credit. He made a lot of adjustments compared to last week. I thought we were a lot more aggressive, especially in the second half. First half, you can make an argument where we're still a little vanilla, but the second half we were way more aggressive. Um, Coach, I got to agree with you. Jahad Campbell, I mean, we lost Deontay Lawson and we didn't even skip a beat. I mean, Jahad
Facts.
Campbell, you saw the athleticism and just how important he could be as an off-ball linebacker. And I still feel like we're not even really utilizing him right. I still feel like you can literally rush him off the
Yeah.
edge. You can rush him on the
On the
inside. You can
edge.
use
Yeah.
him as a Rashawn Evans type of linebacker back in 2015
Yeah.
and 2016. He is a missile. And the same thing with Quindarius Robinson, and even you saw today with Jefferson, he made a big play forcing the fumble on special
Yeah.
teams in our coverage
Special
unit.
team.
He could have got in there today and done some things.
Yeah, you gotta give it to the defense as a whole. If I could give it to an
Yeah,
entire group, I would definitely give it to the defense, man. These guys have played well actually almost every week. I know a lot of people look at the Texas game, but if you look at the way and the situations they were put in the Texas game, um, you know, I give it to the defense every week, man. Joseph Washington says Ty got his 5 stars from throwing on air at all those camps. Definitely wasn't from beating up on 1A moonshiners. I don't know nothing about that. I'm not from Tennessee. Got number love for Ty Simpson. That's something between y'all. But
I don't know what that is.
um, yeah, I would definitely give it to the defense as a whole, man. These guys have kept us in the game. Uh, they've kept us in the game, guys, for more than just one game, more than one game. So you got to give love where love is due, man. The defense has kept us in games. The South Florida game specifically. I mean, if we being honest, If the defense didn't play as well as they played the South Florida game, we could have lost that game. Because we did not move the ball on offense at all, but maybe one drive. It's only one drive that entire game that even sticks out in my brain. And that's the drive that Ty found the tight end, on a route. So yeah, tonight, man, you got to give it to everybody. But if I had to pick one side of the ball, obviously the defense played lights out. You have to remember, again, this team was scoring 50 plus points a game, guys.
Yep.
They've dropped 50 on everybody they played, right? So, could we have scored more on offense? Of course we could have, considering the fact that Georgia Tech scored what they scored against them, Tulane scored what they scored against them. Sure. But this is the first SEC competition we've seen all season, man. And for us to come out and win this football game the way we did, my hats off to those guys.
Yeah, I got to completely agree. If there were some things that you want to see cleaned up a little bit, like if there's some things that you want to see kind of improve on, what would kind of be those areas? And I'll kind of ask the same question to the chat, because at least for me right now, I would like to see the offensive line cleaned up. Penalties I want to see cleaned up. Play calling, want to see a little more consistency on. Like, how do you kind of follow that? Do you kind of agree with that assessment?
I want to see Kevin Steele be more aggressive on third down.
Oh my God, yes.
I want to see him be more aggressive on third down, man. I sent Kyle a video earlier of Clemson. I was watching the Clemson and Florida State game, and it was 3rd and 12, and Clemson had this package in where the only defensive lineman they had on the front seven was Peter Woods. Everybody else was linebackers, rush people, and they brought the house, and they sacked him. They sacked him, man. They sacked Florida State's quarterback, who was already hurt. So, I want to see us be more aggressive on third down. I get so frustrated, man, with the drop defense, because I'm not used to seeing Alabama's defense drop people. That's like, for those that don't know, that defense is kind of like, we don't want the ball to go over our head, so we'll just play it shallow, let you guys catch everything underneath. It's a nice, safe defense to play, right? You just don't want to get beat deep. And I'm not used to seeing us play like that, man. I'm used to seeing us balls to the wall. Let's go get the quarterback on 3rd and long. For me, that is an important stat. How many third downs did you convert? Did you get off the field on third down? That is important to me. So if I had one thing to nitpick on, I would like to see us more aggressive on third down.
Yep. And let's see, Chad Anderson, he said defense, special teams is contenders, period, but our offense is a handicap. Let's see, you've got to score and control the ball, and we control it. And if not, it's gonna score. Sean, what you think about that?
I mean, I agree. We can't kick field goals all the time. We can't beat the better teams by scoring 3 instead of 7. But let me say this, man. Let me take my player hat off and put my coaching hat on. I watched us play against South Florida, man. Right? I'll take tonight. Right? Baby steps, baby. Baby steps, right? We all know it could have been better. We know that. We're totally aware of that, right? Can't score 3 points. I was going crazy at home, but I watched us play South Florida. See, I don't know if you watched that game last week, and I'm talking to the young guy who commented, Chad. I watched us play against South Florida, and we couldn't do nothing. Nothing. Zero. Kaput. Nothing. We didn't even have a first down, bro. We couldn't even get past the 50-yard line, bro. So I'll take it tonight, right? I'll take it, family, right? I understand what you're saying, and you are right. I agree with you. But to go into SEC play and defeat Ole Miss, for right now, I'll take it.
I gotta agree. I'll take anything I can get. And again, we could have scored 40 points in this team.
Facts.
We had a lot of failed red zone opportunities, which were held back. Some of them were because of penalties. Some of it was just because of just some of the mental lapses, like the Jalen Murrow one and the high-low. You had another one, though, with the Jermaine Burton penalty, which I didn't no need to hold, and that would have been a touchdown. That's 35 points, guys. 35 points were off the board because of penalties this year. That's insane, guys, to think about that. Man. We could have had 35 points. So there's a lot of things that we got to clean up, but compared to what we saw last week against South Florida, yeah, I'll definitely take it.
You know what, Coach?
Yep.
I want to see us get Kendrick Blackshire in the game a little more as well, too. Kendrick is physical, man. He's a thumper, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to see us go on the road too, just like Ephraim said. I love that Ephraim said, how would Bama play on the road versus at home? That's a very good question. I want to see us go on the road with the cowbells and things of
Mhm.
that nature. So yeah, that's a great question. And this is only part of the puzzle, to see how we play against our first SEC competition at home. Now let's see how we do against some other SEC competition. And again, guys, it doesn't matter the competition. It's the SEC. You're going to get great play from these guys. Joseph Washington, shout out to you with a $2 super chat. We got some other YouTubers still hating Milrow. Man, Joseph, if
There's
I
no
can
need,
just,
man.
yeah, man, if I step out of the pot, if I can just step and be personal for a minute,
Go ahead,
man, some of these
please,
dudes
please.
don't know the difference in zone and man. You can't listen to them, man. I mean, respectfully, everybody got an opinion, and I respect everybody's opinion, good, bad, ugly, pretty, or indifferent. But let them hate, man. I mean, we don't have Bryce anymore. We have a young quarterback who's still trying to find his way. We have a young offensive coordinator who's still trying to find his way. And we just beat Ole Miss at home, man, our first SEC competition. So I'm happy. I'm not gonna take I don't have the doom and gloom over me right now.
And like I said before, guys, if we don't have if Miro was out, let's just say for the sake of whatever, let's just say Miro was hurt, right? He got hurt when he threw that touchdown, and Buckner and Ty Simpson would have came. Do we think that Alabama scores more than 20 points against Ole Miss? Because I don't.
No.
I don't. I don't.
Facts, Coach Jay.
I don't. If Miro's out of that game, you can make a legitimate argument instead of boosting the team like how Miro got up and how he was able to kind of ignite the team. Again, Bam was able to make a switch. I think it deflates the team. I think the team becomes extremely deflated, and I think we start to play a lot more rough, and that actually starts to give momentum to Ole Miss. Because let's be honest here, Buckner for the most part is inaccurate. Super inaccurate. Doesn't even have enough power to get the ball to defenders as far as interceptions, because he almost threw around 3-4 interceptions. The problem was that the ball would just, it wasn't even close to get to them or any receiver that was in the vicinity. And again, Ty Simpson is still learning the offense. Doesn't have enough reps to even work his way in there yet.
Exactly.
Plus, he's a redshirt freshman. He doesn't have that much experience. So would you rather go with the guy in Milrow who at least has an understanding of the offense, who is by far the leader of the football team? We talk about how the rumors before, guys. Sorry about that. We talk about how the rumors before, how maybe players they were mad and potentially quote unquote throwing. Again, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but players were pissed off that he wasn't even in the game, that he wasn't playing. That means that he has the respect of the locker room. And you don't want to ruin that continuity. You don't want to ruin that chemistry, especially when you have a team already that they're on the rails. You don't want to try to completely dismember that. So Milrow is the guy. And if Bama fans can't buy into that, then you got to hop off and go to Georgia. Go be an Ohio State fan. They're playing tonight. Go watch them against Notre Dame and see how they do.
Exactly, man.
We're riding with Milrow. We're riding with Milrow. He's our guy. He's our quarterback. And until he gets hurt, and I'm going to knock on wood for this because I hope he doesn't get hurt, he is the guy moving forward. You can't buy into that. Go watch Notre Dame and go watch Ohio State play.
All facts. I want to read High Power TV's chat. He said, Ole Miss mixed up the coverages. That trap zone confused Milrow on the interception. He can only learn and get better. When they was dropping 8, I knew what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But this is what I would say to you, High Power TV. I agree with you. Dropping 8 and going into that type of zone, that type of shell confuses even veteran quarterbacks, right? But I will say this. Ole Miss respected Jalen Milrow's arm because they went from blitzing all out to rushing only 4. That's all they done. They only rushed 4.
Half.
Exactly.
So stack it.
Think about that, High Power. They respected his down the field throwing because those 2 safeties they was creeping up in the box. No, that stopped. That's how a lot of those run lanes were open. So if you know football, guys, it can only go up from here. High Power TV is 100% correct on that one. Shout out to Jason DeMoth as well. Jalen showed a lot of heart today. All facts, man. If you know the game and see the game this guy played against that type of defense, it's going to get better, guys. It's going to get better. I saw us play against South Florida, though, right? So I have a whole nother perspective. South Florida got beat by Western Kentucky worse than we did. South Florida only lost to Florida A&M by 7 points. I saw us struggle with that same team. So to see us go out and move Ole Miss. What I just saw, I'll take it any day of the week. So if they still hating on Milroe, man, shout out to them. You know, God can't help everybody.
Yeah, shout out to Justin, man. Shout to Justin. Shout out to Justin Wood. He says, "Listen, we still control our own destiny." I completely agree with that. We still control our own destiny for the most part, guys. Today was a huge improvement. It is. The second half was the best I think we've played since the Kansas State game. There's no question
Yes.
about it. Can we continue that is the main question. Can we continue what we were able to do? Mississippi State, Mississippi State, they're no slouch. None of the SEC teams are slouches because, again, a lot of these teams still kind of control their own destinies. Maybe not make it to the playoffs, but they're fighting for New Year's Six bowl games. They're fighting for better bowl positioning. They're fighting for their coaches potentially not being on the hot seat and getting fired. There's a lot still early in the season that a lot of these SEC teams are still fighting for. We're not out of the woods yet. We can't afford to lose another game. Otherwise, we're out of the playoffs. Now, I had this team going 10-2. That was my prediction. But can they prove me wrong? Can they prove can they prove it? Let's be honest. A lot of Bama fans, including myself, we were kind of done. We were kind of off of it. We were kind of sick and tired of seeing the Bama against South Florida only scoring 17 points, which I still can't believe.
Can't believe. Yeah.
If anything, I think tonight showcased the potential. Maybe that this is not the full result of what Bama looks like, but it only showcased the potential. Little potential, I would say, because even in that second half, as good as we played in that second half, we still made crucial mistakes that killed a lot of our drives. This game showcased exactly what type of ability we have as a team. If we can just get together and we can start to continue to improve on that, lean on that, I think this team could potentially be a national championship contender. But no, we got to prove it. We got to prove it.
Facts. Shout out to Jonathan Bowden with the $4.99 super chat. When Jalen got up after getting drilled on the touchdown throw and got up and went running downfield, fist pumping, that's my quarterback. Yeah, man, that's what football is about, man.
Mm-hmm.
That play signifies the game, brother. That's it. He took a very, very, very hellacious shot right in the midsection. I know how that feel. You know, the kid gets up, he sees, throws a touchdown, and the energy takes over. The energy and the passion and the momentum takes over. He still was hurt when you got to the sideline. You seen him grimacing. But yeah, I agree with you, Jonathan. 1,000%, man. That's what you need. I even got excited when I seen Ty came in and scored the 2-point conversion. I got hyped in, hopped up off the couch. So yeah, that's football, man. Energy, love for the game, passion. That's football. I agree 1,000%.
Yep, I completely agree. And go back and watch the Jets Cowboys game. For those who are not, for those who are fans of the National Football League, did you see how Zach Wilson was looking when he was making ecstatic plays? He's not when Aaron Rodgers got hurt and Zach Wilson kind of came in, you don't see the energy, right? There are certain quarterbacks that if they make a big play and they run somebody like a Josh Allen, perfect example because I'm a Bills fan. You have a person like Josh Allen when he's running somebody over or he's stiff arming or he's hurdling, he's trying to ignite the team. That's why when you see him do those endless hurdles and he's failing, but he continues to try, he's trying to get the team's respect. He's trying to get their respect. He's trying to get their commitment. He's trying to get the fans fired up. Did you like when it's crazy because as soon as Burrow stood strong in that pocket, got hurt and he's on the ground and he's weaseling and he's trying to catch his breath. We're hoping that it's not a serious injury. The stadium was dead quiet. You couldn't even, it was dead. But as soon as he got up and he started to throw his fist in the air and he started to fist pump, it was loud. It was probably the loudest it was the entire night. That's the type of team we need. That's the type of leader that we need to try to spark a team because this is how national championships are run, right? The Tim Tebow's of the world might not be the greatest passer in the world, but what was he? He was a phenomenal leader. They relied on his leadership in order for him to get those national titles. Even though those Florida teams were stacked, just like how Alabama was, they relied on his leadership to win championships. That's what we need for Jalen Milroe. We need somebody that can take charge and be an alpha, be that leader. And what we saw against South Florida when he was benched, what happened as soon as Ty Simpson got sparked? Who was the first person to meet him? It was Jalen Milroe, despite him getting benched. So that's what we need. And this is why I keep trying to tell people, I keep reiterating to this point, for those who keep saying that Jalen Milroe is not the guy, I don't, like, I have terrible vision. That's why I got glasses on, but maybe you may need my glasses.
Exactly.
I don't know what you're not seeing if Jalen Milroe is not the guy.
Exactly, man. I agree 1,000%. Shout out to Jason DeMarth. Dallas was on the hunt today. Dallas played a great game, Jason. He did. This is probably his best all-around game to me today, as far as run game and third down pressures and off the edge and just the all around game. I agree with you 100%. Can we get everyone to hit the like button if we possibly
Please.
can? If you can, subscribe to the channel. Kyle works hard, man. He does a great job at this channel. He's in it with both feet, man, and we enjoy talking to everybody, and we appreciate everybody in the chat. Can you guys hit the like button if you possibly can? We really would appreciate it. Like and subscribe, to be honest. Anthony Bell says we're tired at a bandwagon. Alabama, I guess that's supposed to be we're tired of the bandwagon.
Tired of the bandwagon fans.
I mean, you know how it is, man. Anthony, you're gonna have bandwagon fans with anything, right? Why do you think the world, when we lose a game, it's the top headline on ESPN? Why do you think when we lose a game, people rush the field and tear the goal down and put it in the damn river and all type of wonderful, goofy things, right?
Why do you think Europe reports us when we lose? I mean, it was to a point where London and BBC News and Sky Sports was reporting our loss. They were talking about
when
it for a week,
lose,
and they don't like football over there.
Facts. When Alabama lose, it is like a world clock stoppage all around the nation, right? So you can expect that, Anthony. You know, it comes with it, brother. You got to take the good with the bad, right?
Oh boy, this was a great win, guys. This was a phenomenal win for us, and this was a huge win for the program. But coach, before we kind of wrap this thing up, what are some of the things, and we'll give you guys more of a sneak peek of what we're going to be talking about for Monday Night Quarterback, which, by the way, catches on Monday Night Quarterback Monday nights, as always. Of course, Coach Schmook, I believe he'll also be there with us as well, so we can have a more in-depth analysis. I know we're kind of all over the place tonight, but it's an emotional win, so definitely kind of keep in mind with that. But what are you kind of looking for, kind of sneak peek of what you're trying to look for the Mississippi State game kind of moving forward for next week?
For me, man, I want to see the game plan. I want to see the last couple of drives from this game carry over to the Mississippi State game. Those guys are going to have cowbells clanking them and ringing them, and those fans, they have some great fans, by the way. If you've never been to Starkville, you need to try to go down to that game. They have some great fans down there who really support their team, man. And, they do a great job of causing confusion, causing ruckus. And so for me, I want to see the game plan. I want to see the game plan of what we do. I want to see does Tommy Rees get more comfortable with using Jalen Milroe, design runs, RPOs. One thing about it, though, man, let me say, I think it was Coach Jay who actually made this point, and I'm going to take Coach Jay's point and remind him that it was him who said it. Did you guys see the first half how Lane was using Jackson Dart, with the motions, the sweeps, the rips and lids, the motion, the window dressing that got our linebackers that first Ole Miss score when our linebackers was completely out of position, seems like on every play. That is what we need with Jalen Milroe. Something to get the defense off balance, man. Something to where they can't key on a gap and use it. Something to get them going one way and have to turn back and go the other way. That is how you use those type of quarterbacks, man. Misdirection, those type of things. So shout out to Coach Jay for that, man.
Yeah, and we were texting about that in backstage because I'm looking at Coach Rees, and Coach Rees was using a little bit of motion on that first drive, but not to where Lane Kiffin was literally breaking ankles, not literally, but he was breaking ankles. Because it's confusing when you're playing against a Sark level offense, or you're playing against a Kiffin level offense. You're going, again, a lot of those Pac-12, including what Sean Lewis does a little bit with Colorado, love to use a lot of motion, love to try to get players out of position. Try to get those correct matchups, and they'll kill you for it. And I will say this: I'm glad that, again, Jackson Dart's not the worst quarterback I think in the SEC. He's not a bad quarterback. I think he's a pretty decent quarterback. But thank God that they don't have a Bryce Young type level quarterback, or because Lane Kiffin's a quarterback guru. They don't have a Caleb Williams type or even a Michael Penix. Thank God, because there were matchups that they had won. They were wide open targets that they had that beat, and Jackson Dart either didn't see it or he missed it. So thank God for that. But other than that, I think that, again, Bama's defense did a terrific job neutralizing Lane Kiffin's offense. We came up clutch in a lot of really, especially in third down rate. Ole Miss is one of the best third down converting teams in the country. We held them to, I think, definitely less than 50%, with which was their current average. We definitely kind of held on to that, which was extremely more impressive. And again, against Mississippi State, which is, they're trying to get a lot more from their air raid. They're still fixing they're still trying to figure out their offensive philosophy, what they're trying to run. And again, it's something that we're not used to, at least during the 2 or 3 years that we played against Mississippi State with Mike Leach. That's no longer going to be the case. We'll figure out what happens when we play against Mississippi State. We'll be watching film on that. But other than that, keep up the work. I would just say let's just keep up the work, keep up the momentum, and if we can do that, I think that Alabama's going to do a phenomenal job. But I really love the performance. Really love the performance of what I saw today, defensively, offensive line wise, mainly in the second half, and just Jalen Murrow. I can't say it enough. He was incredible especially what he was able to do in the second half, delivering deep passes. Actually, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, before we kind of get onto our final thoughts, Jalen Murrow is actually one of the more accurate deep ball throwers in college football right now. Believe it or not, he's actually one of the more accurate players as far as throwing the ball past 35 yards. He's actually one of the most accurate passers. So just goes to show you, man, that Jalen Murrow is that guy. So Coach Sean, we'll kind of wrap this up, kind of give you final thoughts, and we'll kind of wrap it up.
My final thoughts is I'm proud of the team tonight. This could have easily went the other way with a USF type effort. So for these guys to come out and defeat our first SEC opponent, that's huge for me, especially a team of the caliber of that offense. I'm proud of them. We kind of got on them, and we would continue to get on them respectfully all 3 weeks, right? So I'm going to give them some love tonight. It wasn't pretty by any stretch of the imagination, but I seen potential, like a lot of the guys in the chat said, seen potential. Seeing a lot of fight in them, seeing a lot of growth with our offensive coordinator. I was happy with tonight. I watched the South Florida game, right? So I was happy with tonight, man. My final thought on that game is shout out to the team, shout out to the coaches. We got to carry it over. We got to get back to practice and play well this coming up Saturday with Ole Miss. I think we got out of the game rarely healthy. I think we have some beat up guys on some small things. So I was happy with it, man. The defense played well. Jalen still up and down, not struggling, but up and down. But at the same time, he played well enough for us to win that football game. Played completely much better than what we saw in the South Florida game. So my final thought is I am happy. I am satisfied with this win. On to Mississippi State. And we'll get back in, we'll dive in deeper Monday night. But I am happy with this win, period.
Definitely catch us on Monday Night Quarterback, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard, 7 o'clock Central. If you're on the West Coast, I believe it's around 4 o'clock or either 4 or 5 o'clock if you're on the West Coast. We appreciate a lot of you guys for being here, guys. We had, I think, close to around 500 people at one point. We now have 261 people right now in the chat. We're now 263. So definitely guys, make sure to hit the like button, right? Hit the like button, support Kyle Henderson. He gave us the opportunity to be on this platform.
Shout out to Kyle.
Shout out to Kyle. We couldn't appreciate him more. Coach Schmook will be here on Monday. So I know a lot of you guys are missing Coach. He'll be here on Monday Night Quarterback. Definitely catches on there. Sunday, I think, will be the call-in show for Kyle. So again, I know we didn't have the call-in show right now for post games right now. So tomorrow, a lot of you guys just call in there and just give your thoughts and opinions about the game. But yeah, we appreciate a lot of you guys. And I think that's it. I think we're just gonna wrap it up here. So yeah, guys, Coach Jay with Coach Sean. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Again, make sure to catch us on Monday and hit the subscribe button. We're out.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.